In 2020, Bordwell Park in Riverside, California, became the site of a heinous crime. Cedric Dempsey, a 32-year-old father of 9, was brutally murdered, his body discovered with gunshot wounds. The incident shook the community, as Dempsey was known for his devotion to his family. Initial investigations suggested gang involvement, but the lack of immediate evidence made progress slow. Local residents, already wary of the growing gang violence in the area, were further distressed by the murder. Bordwell Park, a once safe community hub, became a symbol of the pervasive danger posed by gang activity. Chapter 2: The Early Investigation. Riverside Police Department launched an investigation into Dempsey's murder. Detectives theorized the killing was connected to a gang dispute, but struggled to identify the exact motive. Leads were sparse, and witnesses were reluctant to come forward due to fear of retaliation. Investigators began by interviewing known associates and gang members in the area. Despite their efforts, the case remained unsolved, adding to a backlog of gang-related homicides in Riverside. Meanwhile, Dempsey's family mourned the loss of a man whose life was cut tragically short. Chapter 3: Rise in Gang Violence. The early 2020s saw a spike in gang-related activity in Riverside County. Turf wars, drug trafficking, and retaliatory killings plagued neighborhoods like Casablanca and Eastside. Bordwell Park, where Dempsey was killed, was a hotspot for such crimes. Law enforcement agencies, overwhelmed by the surge in violence, sought help from the California Department of Justice, DOJ. Their goal was not only to solve Dempsey's murder, but also to dismantle the gangs terrorizing the community. These efforts set the stage for a large-scale operation aimed at curbing gang violence. Chapter 4: Operation Walk in the Park. In 2020, a multi-agency task force was formed to investigate Riverside's gang activity comprehensively. Dubbed Operation Walk in the Park, the initiative involved extensive surveillance, wiretaps, and undercover operations. Detectives worked tirelessly to gather intelligence on gang hierarchies, rivalries, and criminal enterprises. Over 2 years, the task force linked Dempsey's murder to a specific street gang responsible for numerous violent crimes. This discovery marked a turning point in the investigation, as it allowed law enforcement to narrow their focus and gather concrete evidence against the perpetrators. Chapter 5: The Evidence Emerges. By mid-2022, detectives uncovered critical evidence tying gang members to Dempsey's murder. Surveillance footage, intercepted communications, and forensic analysis of crime scenes painted a clear picture of the gang's operations. Weapons seized during raids were tested, revealing matches to bullets recovered from Dempsey's body. Informants within the gang provided further insight into the group's activities, confirming that Dempsey's murder was part of a broader power struggle. These revelations solidified the case against the suspects and highlighted the gang's role in other unresolved homicides. Chapter 6: The Arrests. In May 2022, law enforcement executed 20 search warrants across Riverside County. 17 individuals were arrested, and a cache of weapons and drugs was seized. Among the firearms were ghost guns, non-serialized weapons commonly used in gang violence. The suspects, including those directly linked to Dempsey's murder, faced charges ranging from homicide to drug trafficking. The arrests sent shockwaves through the community, as many of the accused were well-known figures in the neighborhood. Chapter 7: Community Reaction. The arrests brought a sense of relief and justice to Riverside residents. For years, the community had lived in fear of gang violence, and the dismantling of a major criminal organization offered hope for a safer future.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. The Riverside Police Department began a homicide investigation on December 22nd of 2020 after 32-year-old Cedric Dempsey was found deceased in Bordwell Park, located in the 2000 block of Martin Luther King Boulevard in our city. Detectives from our robbery, homicide, and gang units were able to connect with Mr. Dempsey's murder to a local criminal street gang. They also discovered suspects from that murder were possibly related to murders being investigated by the Riverside County Sheriff's Department. Our agencies began a coordinated investigation with Riverside County District Attorney's Office, California Department of Justice Special Operations Unit, and the California Highway Patrol. The joint effort included multiple search warrants neighborhood canvasses, witness interviews, forensic examination of evidence, reviewing surveillance footage, and other investigative actions. I'm happy to report that on May 21st of 2022, we arrested Arthur Akins for Mr. Dempsey's murder. On May 25th, and throughout this investigation, personnel served search warrants and arrest warrants not only in the city of Riverside, but also in the city of Moreno Valley, Corona, Rialto, Grand Terrace, San Bernardino, Victorville, Hesperia, and Alhambra. These investigative operations have been supported by our SWAT team, along with the Riverside County Sheriff's Department, San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, and Corona's SWAT teams as well. The Riverside County Sheriff's Department Gang Task Force, Riverside District Attorney's Office Gang Impact Team, and Riverside County Sheriff's Department Special Enforcement Team assisted in this effort as well. In addition to Mr. Akins' arrest, some of the highlights of the investigation include the following. On March 30th of 2022, detectives learned a gang member was in possession of a firearm and conducted a surveillance. They attempted to stop him and watched him discard a firearm. Fortunately, were able to safely arrest the suspect and charge him with being a felon in possession of a firearm. On April 1st of 2022, detectives learned that a gang member was in possession of a firearm. After a vehicle pursuit, officers were able to safely arrest the suspect and charge him with being a felon in possession of a firearm. On April 7th of 2022, detectives served a search warrant at a residence in our community after receiving information the suspect was manufacturing and selling firearms to gang members. Detectives recovered 11 rifles and shotguns, 28 handguns, about 2 pounds of fentanyl pills, and over 50 pounds of marijuana. 5 of the handguns were ghost guns, and the detectives also recovered a 3D printer to manufacture those. On May 4th, 2022, detectives arrested a gang member for pimping. On May 13th of 2022, detectives received information a gang member was transporting a large amount of narcotics. The suspect was arrested in the Adelanto area with about a half a pound of crack cocaine. On May 17th of 2022, detectives served a search warrant at a residence in Riverside and recovered a loaded, stolen handgun. Mr. Akins was also in possession of a handgun when he was arrested on May 21st. Yesterday, May 25th, 2022, multiple agencies served search and arrest warrants throughout the region. They made 9 felony arrests and recovered the following evidence, which is over here: 10 handguns, 3 rifles, 2 pounds of heroin, a half a pound of cocaine, a half pound of meth, 200 MDMA pills, which are ecstasy or Molly, 8 pounds of marijuana, and nearly $66,000 in cash. Overall, this extensive long-term joint investigation resulted in 17 felony arrests, which includes Mr. Akins' arrest for murder. They also received a total of 55 firearms, which can no longer be used to harm our community. I can't stress enough the dedication of our investigators in this. These detectives literally spent thousands of hours on this case. Secondly, this is truly a collaborative effort, and we could not be more thankful for the professional working relationship we have with these agencies standing beside us today. We appreciate that.
Dempsey's family expressed gratitude to law enforcement for their relentless pursuit of justice. However, they also highlighted the ongoing need for community support and resources to prevent further tragedies. Chapter 8: Justice and Legacy. As the case moved through the courts, several gang members were convicted of crimes, including Dempsey's murder. The sentences served as a warning to others involved in gang activity, underscoring the consequences of such violence. Cedric Dempsey's legacy endures as a symbol of resilience and the community's determination to combat gang violence. While his loss remains a painful memory, his case exemplifies the importance of collaborative efforts to ensure justice and safety for all.